Hi, this is Geeta Shah teaching you Chapter 1 today. Chapter 1 Economics, Foundations and Models. Chapter Outline and Learning Objectives. 3 economic ideas. The economic problems that every society must solve. Economic models. Microeconomics and macroeconomics. A preview of important economic terms. What is this class about? People make choices as they try to attain their goals. Choices are necessary because we live in the world of scarcity. Scarcity is the situation in which unlimited wants exceed the limited resources available to fulfill those wants. Therefore, economics is the study of these choices. Economists study these choices using economic models, simplified version of reality used to analyze real-world economic applications. Typical economics questions. We will learn how to answer questions like these. How are the prices of goods and services determined? How does pollution affect the economy? And how should government policy deal with these effects? Why do firms engage in international trade? And how do government policies affect international trade? Why does government controls the prices of some goods and services, and what are the effects of those controls? 3 key economic ideas. Explain these 3 economic ideas. People are rational, people respond to incentives, and optimal decisions are made at the margin. Rationality and self-interest are the basic assumptions of economics. Economists assume that people are rational. Rational people means they use all available information to achieve their goals. Rational consumers and firms weigh the benefits and costs of each action and try to make the best decision possible. As for example, Microsoft does not randomly choose the price of its Windows software. It chooses the price that it thinks will be most profitable. People respond to incentives. As incentives change, so do the actions that people will take. For example, changes in several factors have resulted in an increased obesity in Americans over the last couple of decades, including decreases in the price of fast food relative to healthful food, improved non-active entertainment options, increased availability of health care and insurance protecting people against the consequences of their actions. Optimal decisions are made at margin. While some decisions are all or nothing, most decisions involve doing a little more or little less of something. Examples: should you watch an extra hour of TV or study instead? Economists think about decisions like this in terms of the marginal cost and marginal benefit. The additional cost of or benefit associated with a small amount of extra of some action. Comparing marginal cost and marginal benefit is known as marginal analysis. And according to marginal analysis, rational people make decision only if marginal benefits exceed marginal cost. Health insurance and obesity. Obesity is rising in America for various reasons. Is one of the reasons health insurance? People with health insurance have less incentive to stay healthy than people without health insurance. Holding constant other factors like age, gender, and income, research shows people with health insurance are more likely to be obese. They are responding to economic incentives. Economic problems that every society must solve. Discuss how an economy answers these questions. What goods and services will be produced? How will the goods and services will be produced? Who will receive the goods and services produced? What goods and services will be produced? Individuals, firms, and governments must decide on the goods and services that should be produced. An increase in the production of one good requires the reduction in the production of some other good. This is a trade-off resulting from the scarcity of productive resources. The highest valued alternative given up in order to engage in some activity is known as the opportunity cost. For example, the opportunity cost of increased funding for space exploration might be giving up the opportunity to fund cancer research. How will the goods be produced? A firm might have several different methods of producing its goods and services. For example, a music producer can make a song sound good by hiring a great singer and using standard production of techniques, or hiring a mediocre singer and using auto-tune to correct the inaccuracies. For example, as the cost of manufacturing labor changes, a firm might respond by changing its production technique to one that employs more machines and fewer workers, or even moving its factory to a location with cheaper labor. Who will receive the good and services? The way we are most familiar with the United States is that people with higher income obtain more goods and services. Changes in tax and welfare policies change the distribution of income, though people often disagree about the extent to which this redistribution is desirable. Types of economies. There are three types of economies: planned economy, mixed economy, and market economy. Centrally planned economies result when governments decide what to produce, how to produce, and who receives it. Market economies result when the decisions of households and firms determine what is produced, how it is produced, and who receives the goods and services. In economics, market is a group of buyers and sellers of a good or a service. In mixed economies, they have both the features of both of the above. Most economic decisions result from the interaction of buyers and sellers, but governments play a significant role in allocation of resources. Efficiency of economies. Market economies tend to be more efficient than centrally planned economies because market economies promote productive efficiency and allocative efficiency. Productive efficiency, where goods and services are produced at the lowest possible cost, and allocative efficiency, where production is consistent with consumer preferences, the marginal benefit of production is equal to its marginal cost. These efficiencies come about because all transactions result from voluntary exchange, transactions that make both buyer and seller better off. Caveats about market economies. Markets may not result in fully efficient outcomes. For example, people might not immediately do things in the most efficient way. Government might interfere the market outcomes. Market outcomes might ignore the desire of people who are not involved in the transactions, as for example, pollution. Economically efficient outcome may not be the most desirable. Markets result in high inequality. Some people prefer more equity, as for example, fair distribution of economic benefits. Economic models. Understand the role of models in economic analysis. Economic models. Economists develop economic models to analyze real-world issues. Building an economic model often follows these steps. 1. Decide on the assumptions to use in developing model. 2. Formulate a testable hypothesis. 3. Use economic data to test the hypothesis. 4. Revise the model if it fails to explain the economic data well. 5. Retain the most revised model to help answer similar economic questions in the future. Important features of economic models: assumptions and simplifications. Every model needs them in order to be useful. Testability. Good models generate testable predictions which can be verified or disproven using data. Economic variables. Something measurable that can have different values, such as the income of doctors. The scientific nature of economics. Economists try to mimic natural scientists by using the scientific method, but economics is a social science. Studying the behavior of people is often tricky. When analyzing human behavior, we can perform two types of analysis: positive analysis and normative analysis. Positive analysis is descriptive, is the study of what is and or. Normative analysis is prescriptive, is the study of what ought to be. Economists generally perform positive analysis. Health insurance and obesity. Forecasts indicate a significant shortage of doctors, especially primary care physicians, by 2020. High costs of medical school may prevent some people from becoming doctors, may lead people to pursue lucrative specialties instead of primary care. Would more people become primary care physicians if medical school were free? And if so, would it be worth the cost? Economic models can find answers to the positive aspects of this debate. Microeconomics and macroeconomics. Distinguish between microeconomics and macroeconomics. Microeconomics is the study of how households and firms make decisions, how they interact in markets, and how the government attempts to influence their choices. Macroeconomics is the study of the economy as a whole, including topics such as inflation, unemployment, economic growth. Preview of some important economic terms. Define important economic terms. Terminology in economics. Like all other fields of study, economics uses term or jargon with specific, precise meanings. Sometimes these terms will be used in ways that differ even from closely related disciplines. Examples: technology, the processes a firm uses for turning inputs into outputs of goods and services. Capital, manufactured goods that are used to produce other goods and services. Pay close attention to terms defined in class and in the textbook. Common misconception to avoid: believing economics is only about money. Confusing positive and normative analysis. Assuming familiar meanings of economic terms. And here in this appendix, you can learn about the graphs and formulas. So please go ahead and learn and refresh your high school algebra and learn about the graphs and formulas.